Hi guys, in this video we're taking a look at the Apple Extended Keyboard 2. I had to get one of these eventually because they're one of the best sounding Alps boards out there. We'll get to the clicky switches later. There were tons of these produced in the early to mid 90s, and they could actually come with more switch types than the AEK1. The AEK1 came with orange or salmon Alps, and the AEK2 could come with cream damped, white damped, salmon, and Mitsumi standard mechanical. The cream damped ones are obviously the most common, and the Mitsumi standard models are the rarest. However, there's a without looking under the keycaps for a switch type, there's actually a way to tell what kind of switches your AEK has based on the label on the back here. This one, as you can see, made in USA and has this little S down at the corner. This means it has cream damped switches. If it says over here it would be assembled in Mexico, then it would have white damped switches. If it says USA and this little S is not present, then it has salmon switches. Finally, if it says, made in Japan or something like that, that's one of the rare Mitsumi standard mechanical models. However, I decided to swap my click-modded SKCM black switches from my AT101 in the pine housings from here, and that's why this thing sounds so amazing. It was working, swapping switches between this and my AT101. Pine housings are the secret sauce to great sounding Alps. I don't know why, but they did. It's true. Because I think it was when they switched over to the bamboo housings, I think they might have changed the material to make them, which is why they don't sound as bassy. And the pine tops of these aren't as shiny as the bamboo ones, so that's why I suspect it's probably a different plastic material. But I could be wrong, so not 100% sure on that. The keycaps with these are very nice, high quality dye sub PBT caps. And as you can see, this one is pretty shiny, but the lettering still looks perfect pretty much. These are like the most common source for PBT Alps mount caps, although they do have a few characteristics. One, the homing bumps on D and K. The 6-unit spacebar bottom row with 1.5 units these keys and a 1.25 unit this key. And all the keys on the top row here are vertically mounted. There, you can see there. And these caps use longer stems, so they don't really fit other things unless you custom make them to fit these top row caps. And that's why a lot of these caps are used in 60% builds, because you can effectively only use all these caps. But you could make a function rowless TKL with this, or you can do a full size board with all the numpad and everything, just omitting this. The caps lock switch is an SKCL lock switch, and this one is a gray one. See that follower arm down there. If you don't like the matte sound of the AT101, my advice would be to pick up a cheap AEK2 and switch parts into here, because this board just sounds so much better. And you can like put the dampen switches in your AT101, and those actually fit the AT101 quite well, being damped. So I highly recommend getting this in addition to an AT101 if you want to go into Alps modding, because this is like the best Alps project I've done so far, and I really like it. The build quality is really nice though. Pretty thick, tough plastic case and a thick metal mounting plate. It's pretty heavy. Taking it apart is actually quite easy. You have just one screw here, and then it is held together by like plastic clips around, but they're like the big and easy to open type, so you don't really have to worry about breaking anything. But yeah, it's really easy to take apart, which I like. And then the AEK2 has the giant foot here. Slide it, so I can do it, to raise it, and of course you can adjust to how high or in between you want it, which is kind of nice. What I would do is pry off the clips just from the bottom, and then you can essentially sort of lift it off just like that. And then yeah, just like that, it's easy to get inside this thing. You can see the foot mechanism, and then your ADB ports on the side there. An interesting little thing I noticed when taking this apart for the first time, there's actually these little covers. Let's see if I can get it off. Actually, these little covers over like the cable connections, from the PCB to the little ports. So don't lose these when you're taking it apart. And if you're taking apart one of these to clean, these can be kind of tricky to get out. But what I found works is to like stick in a flathead screwdriver here, and then like very carefully lift this up, and then it should come right out. The foot pad on the front actually goes through and hooks into the mounting plate for the switches, which is interesting to say the least. And the one screw that the case has, there's actually a brass screw socket in there, so that's pretty nice. And of course, mine is a little bit yellowed. That is normal for all these pretty much. These yellow like crazy. This one was basically orange when I got it. It actually cleaned up quite well. A little bit better than I thought. Because like I set the top case and spacebar out to lazy bright for several days or something. It's a lot better. So I'm definitely glad that came out. And these keyboards have these little studs for holding the little F key strip thing that these keyboards had, although it broke off. And of course the Apple Rainbow logo, which still looks pretty nice. And this one I bought from eBay. Yes, it was the cheapest AEK on eBay at the time. So that was nice. It actually did come with the original cable. Yeah, ADB cable. You do have to use a converter, to use this on a modern PC. I've been heard it's pretty easy to wire one up. And if you can get it flashed with Vial or QMK, then you can swap these keys so that this is the Windows and this is your Alt key. And then you can rebind this to something else. So it's a pretty usable keyboard for a Linux or Windows user like me. If you're looking for one of these with salmon switches, this is definitely the cheapest way to get salmons. Just make sure there's no S on the back label. And if you're really feeling daring, to try and find a Japanese one with those Mitsumi switches. Good on you. But most of these came with the damped cream switches, which I recommend, good for modding. And then there's the white damp switches if you want. The USA had tons of these made. I think that'll cover it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and that'll be it for this video.